Yeah, just a quick review of the book, Ultimate Hockey Training, Transforming Effort into Ability. Basically, the book's divided up into about 16 chapters. I'll just name each one briefly just to give you an idea what's in the book. One is understanding the process. Two is the hockey training revolution. Two is lifelong hockey development. Four is discovering hockey function. Five is unlocking functional movement with myofascial release. So myofascial release is a kind of like where it's a certain kind of massage techniques where you work the soft tissue and you get rid of restrictions in the muscle. You're trying to relax the muscle. You're just trying to release it. Fascia is the covering of the muscle, and the myo is the muscle. So the covering of the muscle is what they're talking about here, and you kind of release the fascia. So that's not your typical thing that you would think of doing for hockey training. So this book I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And who does this? Well, the author, come to find out, is a licensed massage therapist. So there's a lot of that involved in this book, which is really good because you have a more diverse approach to hockey training than I think most people, when they write a hockey book. So glad to see that. So let's see. The sixth one was innovative dynamic warm-ups. 7 is breakaway hockey speed. 8 is creating strength and power through neural manipulation. Here again, neural manipulation. I mean, how many books on hockey training really go over neural manipulation? You're just like, hit the gym, do these exercises, coordination maybe, but neural manipulation, here again, I think that's probably coming from the massage therapy background the author has. Then it goes into creating, the case for unilateral training. That'd be just training one side. 10 is strength and power training for hockey. 8 is functional core training. 12 is a new look at hockey conditioning, which I absolutely. 13 is the truth about stretching. 14 is special topics in injury prevention. And 15 is year-round training considerations. And then 16, just kind of a conclusion chapter. So yeah, this is definitely not your run-of-the-mill hockey training book. If you've read a couple others or you want to try something different, I think this is a really good resource. It's just, it's like a lot of diverse things that you just don't see in other books. Something else to consider, rotator cuff problems also happen a lot with hockey players. This is a good resource as well if you're looking to strengthen your rotator cuff and avoid shoulder problems. And having a more shoulder stability definitely is going to help your game. Basically, to go over this first real quick, because I think this is another book I was really impressed with. What is a rotator cuff? Goes over, what it is, what it does, how it works. Part 2 is answers you need to know. Basically, like, how do I know if I have a rotator cuff tear? What are the symptoms? Any arm maneuvers that might indicate I have a tear? Where exactly does it tear at? A lot of other interesting things, like if you have a rotator cuff tear, are there different kinds of tears? I have a rotator cuff tear and I'm in a lot of pain. I need surgery, right? Well, not necessarily. This is a good evidence-based book. Basically, what they've done to answer that question is they look at studies where they take let's say 100 people with a rotator cuff tear. They measure the size of the tear, and then they run a pain scale to see, like, how bad are you hurting? And what they find is that a lot of times there's no correlation between the tear size, and pain. So what they find is you can have a huge rotator cuff tear and no pain. So it's entirely possible, and there are people walking around with asymptomatic rotator cuff tears. Which begs the question, if my shoulder hurts, don't worry about treating the rotator cuff necessarily. It might be something else causing your pain. Likewise, they find people that have small tears that are in a lot of pain. So just using pain as your sole criteria is not a good idea. What will happen if I just leave my rotator cuff tear alone? Here again, these studies here, they're all in layman's terms. If you leave it alone, well, basically you'd have to look at studies, which the book has. They look at all the studies where you take a bunch of people with rotator cuff tears that don't get treatment for it for one reason or another, and you follow them over like 5 or 10 years and see what happens. So it's kind of the natural history. Does it get better, same? Does it repair itself? Lastly, how does exercise compare to surgery for a torn rotator cuff? Here again, evidence-based medicine, you got to look at the randomized controlled trials. That's basically where you say take 100 people with rotator cuff tear, half you're randomly assigned to surgery, the other half you're randomly assigned to exercise program, and then you follow them for 6 weeks, 6 months. Some of these studies go on for years. So they compiled all the results of the randomized controlled trials and come to find out whether you have surgery or whether you have a good exercise program, the results are pretty consistent. You end up at the same place over time. That's pretty interesting. Anyway, good exercise program. Let's say you're just playing hockey and you tore your rotator cuff. You can hardly move your arm. You use the beginning program. program. They also have an intermediate and an advanced. So like if you just want to prevent a rotator cuff problem. But here, another good resource, for hockey players. But yeah, if you're looking for a very unique hockey training book, this is at the top of my list. So definitely check it out.